think it's starting up here, I believe. I believe so. Just waiting for it to show on my side that it's good to go. Come on, my dude. Work, baby, work. There we go. There we go. It's good to go. Good to go. LOL. 2 days in a row, right? 2 days in a row. Alright. So. That's weird. Oh, it's because I have a green Oh, that's funny. Sorry, there's a green screen set up, so, like, I have a green shirt on. That's funny to me. That's actually funny. Anyways, so today I wanted to pick back up the conversation from yesterday and talk a little bit about, let's say, go into how to, like, start like getting yourself comfortable with, let's say, budgeting. Let's say, what do you do each month? What do you do, what are some avenues you should think about? So that's the plan. So the plan today is to talk about, all right, how do I even get started? And what do I do? Because that's the baseline. Once you got the start, you're golden. Because the playbook stays the same. So I'm going to start off with just a raw Excel sheet. You could do this 100% from your own. You could do this from your own piece of paper. What should we call this file? Let's bring out the finance in me. Personal budget. That sounds very boring. Why is this so hard to find there we go. All right, personal budget. So budgeting is just, the word budget gets such a bad rap because, oh my gosh, this is going to drive me crazy. Where is it? I thought it was in here. This is gonna drive me nuts. There you are. I hate grid lines. I really hate grid lines. Anyways, so here we go. All right, so when you start this, like, this is like the single greatest thing to start. Once you start this, then you can start really getting, like, comfortable and moving forward. It's a boring rap. Now, the number one thing that you start with is personal, like wealth or income. So think about paychecks, okay? So you start with income. And so what I would recommend is you start with, like, whether you're bi-weekly, bi-monthly, per hour, like, get yourself the conservative side of what you make. So, like, if you're 26 paychecks in a year, don't take total paychecks divided by 12, because there's 2 months that you're going to have really high and 2 months you're going to have low. I take conservative side of things because I like surprises at the end on, like, third paycheck month, things like that. But realistically, what you're going to start with here, instead of dinking around with this, I'm just going to do this. So, like, bi-weekly, or I'll say bi-monthly, or bi-weekly. Okay, so you start with that, and then I'll make this just a cute little header in the middle. And so let's just say, for the sake of what we're doing here, whatever the person makes per 2 weeks, let's say it's $1,000, so they get $2,000 a month. OMG. When you're so used to looking and knowing where to click, and then you shrink the ribbon on top, it actually is crazy. Now, what I'm going to say is be careful about how much excess income stuff you add in here, because you're going to want to have something that you can like rely on month after month after month. So I'm just going to call this other for now, and I'm going to say 0. So once you, like, again, you could do this on a piece of paper. You don't need to have any fancy Excel doc or anything like that. It really just, you can put it all on a piece of paper. Let's give it some white. There we go, that popped. Cool. Sorry, I gotta insert a row. Put this up top. There we go. Alright, now we're good. Now we're good to go. What in the world are you spamming? I'm gonna put you in timeout. That's weird. Okay. Anyways. Okay, so this is the simplest part of this entire thing, because it's very easy for you to go check your bank account and say, this is what I'm getting. This is the easiest part of the entire process. Now, we can talk later about how you can take this amount and make it larger or smaller, or if you should. So like examples would be, should I contribute more to my 401k? Should I contribute less? Should I add an HSA or shouldn't I? This thing right here is your base point. So like everything is always going to be like right side by side. So I'm not going to put this here right now, but then you're going to like do the scenario 1. Okay, so that is way too big. There we go. Now I know how far I can go. There we go. Didn't realize that was that small. Okay, now I know. So anyways, we'll get to that in a second. And I'm bored on a Sunday, so why not let's talk finances and see where it goes. Okay, so part 1 is getting the income set up. Then part 2 is the fun part. So the expenses. Indent. I suppose I should put this here. There we go. Now it works how I want it to. All right, so part 1 with the expenses that I think are important that you think about is like, what is like run rate, must-haves versus your wants and desires. So like the big ones are always like your household. Well, before you talk about your household, so I'll say like household. These things are what I would say you can't really change anything. So this is going to be your mortgage / rent. Utilities, heat / electric. And then the next one would be well, I'm going to assume insurance is part of this top piece here, but if you're a renter, you might have your own rental on the side kind of thing. So, anywho. So these pieces here, I think, are important because you can't really change them, like in the short term. So what I recommend is keeping this like such. Then the next thing is going to be like, think of like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Basically what I'm going to say is going to be like food, phone, and then what would be other good examples here? I gotta think out loud. Food, phone, maybe pets. Think of those costs that like you can't, like, there's nothing you can do to like you have to spend it. You have to spend it kind of thing, like just a part of living. Those would be inside of here. Maybe it's internet. And I'm going to call these like, what do they like to call that? It's not discretionary, but just, I'm just going to call it need expenses for now. And then I'm going to make this sum up to here. And then the next is going to be what I call discretionary. And that is going to be the stuff that you choose from, as kind of like, this will be like cable/TV. This will be like trips / entertainment. One thing I probably want to add up here is clothing. The problem is like food can fit in both, right? Clothing can fit in both. Anyways. And then I'm going to call it other at the end. So now I can call it total expenses. There you go. Now you can see it all. And then you can do cash flow / loss. So the parentheses representing if it was at a loss state. I guess you can kind of see it all. Maybe I zoom out just one click. There we go. I could probably shrink myself just a little bit. There, now you can see everything. So when you run your own personal budget, it's kind of like this simple. You know, phone / internet. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to shrink a row. I'm going to call this other because that could be numerous things depending on what you're looking at. And then this is going to equal income less expenses. So now, one thing that people, you'll hear this a lot. So if you took this as a division of this, and I'm going to lock it, and I'm going to call this a percent. And you put all of these in percents. Okay, so now what this is trying to do is say, you might hear like different ratios out there, like, oh, what's a good percent to have of your personal income, like mortgage or rent, going towards as a percent of income? This is what they're referring to. So let's just hypothetically put this in here. Let's say that rent is $1,000 a month. This is 100. Food you spend $450. Phone and internet's $150. I don't know, 50, 0. YouTube TV's gotten way more expensive. Okay. Oh, this is not doing what I want it to do. Okay. All right, hopefully this makes sense. So like, again, you could do all this on paper. You don't need to do this in Excel. But like, this is where kind of like you get started, basically. And before you even like can start doing anything, like honestly at all, you really have to understand this. Like this single-handedly is the most important thing in the beginning. You might ask why. Well, if you're trying to improve this, you don't know if you have a spending problem. You don't know if you have, and I don't want to say that in a bad way. I don't want to say spending problem. Like, if it's because costs are higher than relative income, is it because income needs to be higher? Like, all those types of things need to come into like consideration, and you can ask yourself which avenue you prefer. So, because everyone that listens or wants to better their net worth or their income, they're focusing on something like this, and they're saying it's not big enough. And they want that to be bigger. So it doesn't matter if this is 10,000. At the end of the day, everyone's trying to make this bigger. Because once that gets bigger, they have opportunity. So, as an example here, with this small illustration, you can go line by line and ask yourself, like, what's even possible? So in the beginning, I was talking about like having a scenario. Okay, so now I'm gonna make this smaller, right? So it's really tiny. So what if you were to do like scenario 1 now? Scenario 1, and I'm gonna call this like a highlighted of like a light green or something. And this is gonna be like reality. So I'm gonna put those in dark gray because, yeah, that's reality. All right, there we go. That's about as zoomed in as I can get it right there, so that you can see everything. So now in scenario 1, you come in here and you start playing around with this. So like part 1 would be, okay, looking around and seeing like, is there even a possibility to reduce your rent from where it's at today? Well, maybe there is. And so let's say you look at this and go, you know what, we can't really change it for 12 months, so I'm going to leave this alone. Then you come to like utilities and you go, okay, can I lower the heat in my house? Can I keep the temp higher in the summer for the electric? Is there any avenues to do that? Is there leaky windows? And then asking like yourself almost like, what's the best case scenario? You can go through all this work, but if you're only going to change this $100 by, $20, is it worth putting your energy there right now? Something to think about. Food, you might come in here and go, well, my food's actually been running hot. It's actually been running at 600. Grocery bills are up. Inflation is up. All that kind of jazz. And so you look at this and go, okay, this is where I'm actually trending. Phone and internet. This one, I actually made a video on this one. So a while back, I had Verizon Wireless and Xfinity internet and cable. And so we took this and smashed it together under one provider. And we went from paying like $200 a month for our phone to like $80. Our internet went from like $200 down to like $80. And our cable went from like, I don't remember, like it was bundled with the internet. So cable and internet was bundled. Long story short, we ended up saving an absolute boatload of money by doing this. Oh, you know what I didn't include in here? Let's just insert row and call it gym membership. I'll put 60. Why not? Okay. So now we come over here and you can look again at the phone and internet and ask yourself, is there an avenue? My gosh, I need caffeine. Is there an avenue to like adjust the phone and internet? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. It's something to ponder. Like, a lot of people today, you benefit from having multiple people on a plan. So like, you'll hear more often than not, the youth are staying on their parents' plans because it costs them $40 a month to do it. Whereas if they go on their own, it costs them like $80 or $100. Pets. Obviously, this is discretionary based on if you have pets or not, and it can be expensive or less than what I've got on here, just illustration. Or cable and TV. So when you think about that, this one is discretionary in my mind. You don't really need this one, but people enjoy it. So that's, certain people enjoy this versus doing a gym membership or something else. Anywho, by setting this thing up right here, you can really ask yourself, like, where should I go next? So let's say you can't change any of this at all, and you have pressure coming in on the food bucket. Your number one opportunity is going to be somehow creating more income. Now, that doesn't always mean you need a second job. Okay, it could mean getting a different job. It could mean getting a side gig. It could mean reducing your 401k contributions, or there's a couple different avenues that you could do here. But in this situation, if you've got your expenses as low as they can go, theoretically, then you have what we call an income problem. So, again, I hate using the word problem, but what it means is you're going to want to solve your go find through income. I think this tastes good. Anywho, so I decided to make myself my own shake today instead of getting it at the gym. And I wish I could make it as good as they do. I gotta like write down what they do. But theirs just tastes so much better. And maybe it's because it's right after the gym. And so you feel this different level of like, yeah. I don't know. So, anyways. So, now, if you were to be like, what do I do now? Well, my answer to you would be it really depends on every situation. So this whole concept here that I wanted to talk about is pretty much like, how do you get teed up? How do you get started? You start here. And that's understanding like your entire cost structure, what's going on, and all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna pause there. I know we've had a few people jump in and out here, but just curious if anyone has anything they want to chat on related to this. And if not, I think this was the one topic I wanted to touch on today, was teeing up your personal budget, if you will, and how to kind of do it from scratch without, you could do this with Excel, you could do this piece of paper, it doesn't really matter. But the whole goal is understanding what's the structure look like today. And then we'll continue to build on this. So like I'm going to save this, and then where we're going to go from this is the next kind of talking session. We'll talk about, what can you do today so that you can increase your investment portfolio. When you think about, for instance, on this, when you think about trying to grow your income, you've got, let's say, you could start getting into investments. You could do like money markets, different things that generate income. This is where I'm trying to do that right now. I talk about investing every single week. Well, the more that I grow this on a monthly basis, the less I rely on the other income, or the more that I can grow my discretionary spend. So if I grow this, that means I can have that much more in discretionary spend type of thing, or I can repump it back into the investment account. So this is just a small example that I want to share with how you generate other income, taking your cash flows to produce that. But beans, there's no questions. We're at about 30 minutes. I hit my goal to come back out here today and chat with everyone. And so I don't know what my next goal is, but to continue to make lives during these finance topics is definitely top of mind. So I'm going to shut it down, go work on some channel stuff for slots, to be frank, and then watch the Super Bowl. So